Look, if you are not ready to bust out some Kleenex, you might want to move on along. Hey everyone, this is the Movieman, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with reliable recaps, reviews, and reactions. And today, I'm coming to you all with a review for the upcoming film, We Live in Time, directed by John Crowley, and starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. Story-wise, the film follows the unlikely romance between a cereal representative and a chef over the course of a decade. As always, I'm going to start with the pros, and man, it's like I said, if you are not ready to get your weep on, to shed some tears, I don't know if this one will be for you, but for starters, let me jump into our director. As I said, this film is directed by John Crowley. You may be familiar with him for the films Brooklyn, I still have to check that out, but also his debut feature film Intermission, which I believe I also need to check out, especially after watching this film. There was something about his touch and his direction of this film that just made it feel so calming, so quaint, so genuine. And of course, visually, everything looked stunning, but there was just something about the tone of this that really hit me. I know that romance isn't for everyone, and I think even for me, as someone who does appreciate the romance genre, a lot of times the way Hollywood decides to Hollywood and depict that, it can be like, this ain't for me, right? But I do think there are times where they do manage to get it right. This also happens to be a British film. I'm not trying to make any snap judgments, but I'm just saying this so happens to be a British film, and it's not necessarily Hollywood. It is being distributed by A24, but it is at its core a British film. So there's that. I also have to say, I really enjoyed the structure of this film. It is very much non-linear, which I know sometimes can be very disorienting, very distracting, but I actually thought this was something that served the story. We would start in certain moments, and then those moments would attach to other moments in the past and the future, and we would get so much back and forth, but for me, it never felt distracting or unnecessary. It was just kind of linking things together. And since the title is We Live in Time, it's like, I don't know, just being able to see the progression of this relationship throughout the years, but in these different ways. It kind of shows that, the relationship is not necessarily bound by time. It's just like these impactful moments just kind of recur through all these different scenes. And I just thought it was something for me that really, really worked. I think it added to it and it made it feel less derivative. And a romance is a romance, right? And I will say that this is something that is very simple and straightforward, but I think that structure gave it a little extra punch, gave it a little something I really wasn't expecting. And then, of course, Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, I mean, what can I really say about them? They are definitely top-tier actors. I would also say, though, that this film gave me a greater appreciation for Andrew Garfield. I know that he got his start with The Social Network, but I still, to this day, have not seen that film.
You need to leave!
I know. Shame on me. But I was introduced to him with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and because I didn't really watch them, it was too soon after Spider-Man 3, I was just like, what are we doing? But I was never really that inclined to watch them. So then becoming more familiar with him as an actor in other projects, and more specifically in this one. It's like I've seen him in other films, but this was probably the performance where I was just like, okay, I really appreciate what you bring as an actor, especially because there were so many moments just without words where his face, the nonverbals, I just wanted to give this man a hug. Like, I was just like, oh man, this is tough, and this film is dealing with some very intense subject matter. And you'll, of course, if you've seen the trailer, you kind of know what that is. If you haven't seen it, then I won't give it away. But as far as Florence Pugh, I was already familiar with her way back during the days of Lady Macbeth. So seeing, of course, her rise to fame and how she's become pretty much A-list now, that's been awesome. And of course, she gives another spot-on performance here. And I think it's really something that not only is their chemistry great, like they feel like a genuine, real couple. And if you've heard anything about how they film some of these more intimate scenes, I was just like, I guess the chemistry was really off the charts because, yeah, let's just say they had to really have their fire doused. I'll just put it that way. Oh! And jumping over to cons, I would say the biggest con is the fact that this is a story you've seen before. You do see elements narratively that, you know, accompany a usual romance, even coming down to more tragic elements that can arise in a relationship. So it is in many ways a film that is not necessarily doing anything new. It's probably another, you know, solid addition to the genre, but it is one of those you might walk away from and feel like, all right, did I really need to watch that? But, you know, but it is something that I still feel like has merits. But something just about the narrative probably would just kind of feel like, okay, I could have probably stuck to other films similar to this and not necessarily have experienced this one. So I'm going to give We Live in Time a B-. I do honestly think that Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh's performance, if you're that type of movie watcher or a cinephile or however you want to call it, if you're that kind of person that enjoys watching certain films just for the performances, then I would definitely recommend you go see this. If you're not, then maybe this is something that can wait for streaming or just, you know, a little further down the road. But for those who really appreciate genuine romance and honest romance and something that really does feel like it's depicting the genuine aspects of a relationship in, you know, in all its complications, then this is a film for you. That definitely had me tearing up at a couple of moments just from the rawness of the performances and some of the dialogue as well. It was just like, that is very realistic. That is very, I understand this. I totally get where you're coming from. So yeah, like I said, have your Kleenex ready. You know, have it ready because, you know, or just be ready to get your wipe on or dab or something. But yeah, overall, I think this was a very well-made film and definitely one I can say I appreciated seeing. I feel like I'm doing better in this latter half of 2024. And I'm just going to continue to trust and hope. You already know. I say it all the time. Hope, 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 hope. Hope, hope, hope. Yes, I trust and I hope that we are still going to get some really great things because this is my season. I love the type of films that come out during this particular part of the year, and this film is just no exception. And I just trust that we will continue to get some really solid stuff as we close this year out. So, once again, this is D Movieman signing off, and I'll see you at the movies.